All right. Good morning, everyone. Let's get going here. Okay. U.S. markets obviously had a little bit of a drift up recovery again after Thursday's rally session. Pretty much every sector across the board up a little bit. Nothing out in terms of market data. Just a very light trade action day. We kind of continue our drift up in world markets for the most part. Very little action out on the day. I mean, Asian stocks just kind of continue to rebound after the sell-off that we saw last week. Japan was the only market that was down, but every other market was up relatively nicely, mostly between 0.5% to 1% up on the day, but on very little leadership, So I think you just got to take cognizance of that and realize that today is going to be another light volume day without question, unless there's some sort of an event that triggers some sort of volume. Today is a bank holiday in the UK. Just remember that. That's obviously going to mean things are going to be light here. We could see some extreme price moves and maybe some of the dual listeds that we wouldn't normally see. So just be careful out there. All right, we had Bidvest that had full year earnings out this morning, came in at 1560. That was in line with Bloomberg expectations, and we had a beat on revenue numbers that came in at 153.4 billion versus 149. I think they actually had a small miss on the net income number, but anyway, dividend per share was at 396. That was also a beat, so looking like actually slightly better on Bidvest numbers than expected. Then we've got SUIs that are out later as well, Sun Internationals. Not sure what time that's out, but headline earnings per share there, Bloomberg consensus expected at 7.11. Revenue expected to be at 10.5 billion, and divvy per share is expected to be at 1 rand 80. We've got a handful of earnings out again this week. Last week was obviously a big week of earnings. Impala's being one, Woolies probably being the biggest of the week. We got Murray's, and then we got Assor. So keep your eyes open for those as they come out this week. We could have some nice intraday action on the back of some of those. We'll give you some expectations on the days that they're going to be released. All right, we got durable goods orders out today in the States, and then we've also got the Dallas Fed manufacturing, so very little in terms of market data today. Like we said, really expecting today to be a little bit of a drift. Obviously in days like today, one of the guys here was just making comments saying that every single time that the UK is closed, that typically uses an opportunity to squeeze our market higher. So I'd be really surprised to see anything else happen today, especially after seeing the Asian session. All right, let's jump into the maps. All right, first one we're going to have a look at here is Vodacom. This level here going all the way back to November of last year. You can see it's really been a major level. How many bottoms that we had back then. Then as we got below it, we dropped up. We tested it several times before we managed to break through at the end of last month. We've come right back down to test that level, kind of between about, call it 16.5 and 17, 116.5, 117. I would expect this to kind of bottom out, and this to end up looking very much like a little flag pattern. Once we break above that, I think potentially you can get long. Let's have a look at how this plays out. But obviously there's been a lot of flag patterns in the market setting up the last few sessions, and and they've continued to push higher for the most part. All right, we'll look at Mutual. I wanted to show Mutual coming into a little bit. Sorry, I'm looking at the London chart here. I was wondering why it didn't look right. Let's look at the South African chart. And you can see here we're really coming into a bit of support where we broke out from back here at 29.90. That was a really defined level. I remember us talking about this on the breakout. You got a nice little pop-up here of about a 1 rand 50 to the upside, straight as we broke through there. Also coming back down to test, like we talked about, we're seeing a lot of these same types of patterns coming back to test support. They've been pretty good plays on the long side. Wouldn't be surprised if this doesn't also push to the upside. All right, let's look at ARIs. I want to actually jump back and look all the way back on a 5-year chart here, and just see how we're kind of coming in on some major resistance right at about, call it 201 on ARI. And I mean, this has been such a vertical push. I mean, if you just zoom forward a little bit, you can see, I mean, how hard. We were at 100 and we were at south of 145 Rand only in the middle of July. So we're talking about basically a month ago. We were 145 Rand. Now we're testing 200. So this thing's had a hell of a run. You know, I always feel like when you come up again on major resistance on charts like this, after having such an exhaustive run to the upside, that typically it fails on the first try. But we'll see what happens here. 201's a big level. Wouldn't be surprised to see it get there today. It's only 2.5 Rand above this price. So watch that level in ARI today and tomorrow. Discovery. I'll show this I'll actually show a 30-minute chart here, just to show how we really on Thursday. I mean, you can see there. You know, besides that one open that we saw higher the other morning, which we didn't get a close up there, we're really kind of pushing above on a little bit of a continuation pattern here, and really have just been kind of grinding higher against this level, almost a little bit of a bull flag. We've just jumped above this level on Friday, the 96.50, and we have a new closing high above 97. You know, from the size of this move here through this pattern, I would say we easily going to test $100 over the next couple sessions on Discovery. All right, let's look at Aspen. Aspen also making a nice little continuation pattern. I mean, it was flag continuation, whatever you want to call it. It was kind of flagging for a little bit. We broke out there, but now I think if we get through 240, it can be starting to look very much like a continuation pattern moving through 240, and really could easily take us up to around 265, which is a hell of a long ways away from the height of this channel. I'd be a little bit careful on this one just because it's run so hard over the past 4 or 5 months, but above 240, I think you definitely have to play it long if you're playing Aspen. Right, let's look at SA Breweries. This thing's given us a hell of a lot of head fakes over the past month and a half, 2 months. You can see here how many times we flirted with this resistance on this trend line, and there were little bits and pieces here where we narrowly looked like we broke out, kind of like we have today. But bottom line, on the long-term chart, I mean, this is definitely looking very much like a flag pattern. We drop it back a little bit further. I mean, it really does look exactly like a flag pattern. I'd like to see it stretch its legs a little bit more, maybe get back above 500 before entering the long side here. But this thing just, bad news, can't even really get this thing down. It just continues to impress. Every time it pulls back, it's a buy, and it's been that way for several years now. So just watch this one. I definitely think the closer it gets to 500, the more potential and higher likelihood it has of getting up to previous highs and possibly even north of that. All right, and the last one I'm going to show is Netflix in the States. Just shorten it up a touch here, and you can see we had some bad news there. Subscriber numbers recently were quite weak, but you can see here we really broke above resistance on this continuation. Broke to new highs on this continuation pattern. We kind of moved sideways for a couple sessions, consolidating, and now we really broke out as of Friday. And I really think that this thing is going to make its move from the height of this channel, which is about $30, which is take us back to $300 on Netflix, which is, I think, the previous highs. Let's just jump back real quick and see. Yeah, there's around 300 on previous highs on Netflix. So it's a hell of a move back up from around $55, going from 300 to 55 back to 300. That's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot.